भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। शृण्वतां स्वकता कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृद्यन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। Krishna, who purifies by the processes of hearing and chanting, who is the benefactor of the devotees who hear about him, enters the hearts of the devotees and destroys their sins. यस्याखिलामिव हविः सुमङ्गलैः वाचो विमिश्रा गुणकर्म जन्मभिः प्राणन्ति शुम्भन्ति पुनन्ति वै जगत् यास्तद्विरक्ता शवशोभनामताः. All sins are destroyed and all good fortune is created by the Supreme Lord's qualities, activities and appearances, and words that describe these three things animate, beautify and purify the world. On the other hand, words bereft of his glories are like the decorations on a corpse. शृण्वतां गृणतां वीर्यान् युद्धामानि हरेर्मुहुः यथा सुजातया भक्त्या शुद्धेन्यात्मव्रतादिभिः. One who constantly hears and chants about the activities of the Lord, which can destroy sin, purifies his soul by that bhakti. One cannot achieve such purification merely by observing vows and performing Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. शृण्वन्ति घायन्ति गृह्णन्त्यभीक्षणसः स्वरन्ति नन्दन्ति तवेहितं जनाः त एव पश्यन्त्यचिरेण तावकं भवप्रवाहो परमं पदाम्बुजम्. Persons who constantly hear, sing, speak, remember and sing to others about your activities, they alone, without delay, are able to see your lotus feet which destroy the influence of material existence. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yasoda Nandana Rajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachadi Jamuna Tira Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. I am Mishma Bharamahansa Bhavaraja Kacharya, also the Sismat AC, Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya, alright, gotta stop for Ki Jai. Prem Sagaho, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shvasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopika, Shama Kunda Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai, Navadap Ki Jai, Ganga Jamuna Tulsi, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, all glories to some of the bodies, all glories to some of the bodies, all glories to some of the bodies, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamane Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Tadane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, verse 47. Archayam eva haraye pujam ya sradaye hate nad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smrita.
Archayameva hare pujamya sraddhayate tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smrita.
Archayam, deity, eva, certainly, haraye, to Lord Hari, pujam, worship, ya, who, sradaya, faithfully, ihate, engages, na, not, tat, of Krishna, bhakteshu, toward the devotees, cha, and anyeshu, toward people in general, sa, he, bhakta prakrita, materialistic devotee, smrita, is called. Translation: a devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people in general is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. Purport: Srila Madhvacharya comments that one in the lowest stage of devotional service faithfully serves the deity in the temple but is not aware that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually all-pervading. This same mentality can be seen in Western countries where people commit all types of sinful activities in their homes and in the street and then piously go to church and pray to God for mercy. Actually, God is in our home, God is in the street, God is in our office, God is in the forest, God is everywhere, and therefore God should be worshipped everywhere by the process of devotional service at his lotus feet. As stated in verse 41 of this chapter, Kam vayum agnim salilam mahim cha jyotimsi satvani disho drumadin sarit samudrans cha hare sariram yat kimcha bhutam pranamet ananya. A devotee should not see anything as being separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Ether, fire, air, water, earth, the sun, and other luminaries, all living beings, the directions, trees and other plants, the rivers and oceans. Whatever a devotee experiences, he should consider to be an expansion of Krishna. Thus, seeing everything that exists within creation as the body of the Supreme Lord, Hari, the devotee should offer his sincere respects to the entire expansion of the Lord's body. This is a vision of the Mahabhagavat devotee of the Lord. Srila Madhvacharya states that a Madhyama Adhikari, a devotee in the intermediate stage, sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes and therefore offers his love to the Lord. Such a devotee is a sincere friend of other devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids the atheists. Nonetheless, tad vasatva janati sarvasya jagatopi tu. His realization of the all-pervading feature of the Supreme Lord is imperfect. Although he does have a general sense that everyone is ultimately meant to be a devotee of the Supreme Lord, and he tries to use everything in the service of Krishna, aware that everything belongs to the Lord, he may be bewildered by association with atheistic men. Srila Madhvacharya states, Acharyam eva samstatam vishnum gyatva tad anyatra naiva janati yapumam. A Kanishta Adhikari has no idea the Supreme Lord has the power to exist outside a church or temple. Furthermore, being puffed up by his own ceremonial worship, a Kanishta Adhikari cannot imagine that anyone is more pious or religious than he, and is not even aware that other devotees are more advanced. Thus, he cannot understand the Madhyam or Uttama standard of devotional service, and sometimes, because of his false pride, he criticizes the more advanced devotees of the Lord, neglects them, or simply has no understanding of their exalted position as preachers or completely self-realized souls. Another symptom of the Kanishta Adhikari is that he is infatuated by the material qualifications of so-called great materialistic persons. Having a bodily concept of life himself, he is attracted by material opulence and thus minimizes the position of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. Such a Kanishta Adhikari, therefore, is disturbed if a second-class devotee criticizes the non-devotee as the Lord. In the name of compassion or kindness, a Kanishta Adhikari approves of the non-devotional activities of such materialistic men. Because the Kanishta Adhikari is ignorant of the higher realms of devotional service and the unlimited transcendental bliss of Krishna consciousness, he sees devotional service merely as a religious aspect of life, but thinks that life has many enjoyable and worthwhile non-devotional aspects. Therefore, he becomes angry when second-class devotees who experience that Krishna is everything criticize the non-devotees. Madhvacharya says that such a person, because of his rudimentary faith in Krishna, is considered a devotee, but he is Bhakta Adama, a devotee on the lowest standard. If such materialist devotees follow the rules and regulations of deity worship, they will gradually be elevated to a higher standard and eventually become pure devotees of the Lord, unless they commit offenses against other devotees, in which case their advancement will be checked. Srila Madhvacharya states that Bhaktanam upekshaka kuryur Vishnavapi dvesham. Those who neglect or show indifference to the devotees of the Lord are to be considered offenders at the lotus feet of Vishnu. Similarly, those who disrespect the demigods will become bereft of devotional service and be forced to rotate again and again within samsara, the cycle of birth and death. Puja devas tata sada. The demigods are always to be offered respect, since they are devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone is envious of the demigods, he is to be considered envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, one who offers sincere respect to the demigods is considered to be respecting the will of the Supreme Lord. A Vaishnava does not foolishly think that there are many gods. He knows that there is one Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as stated many times in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord has a mission within this material world, which is to reform the conditioned living entities through the cruel laws of nature. In the Lord's mission within this world, the demigods are to be considered limbs of the Lord's body. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kanisthas shrita jnana prapajyante devata tam tam niyamam astaya prakritya niyata svaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. But there are many examples of devotees who worship the demigods to get benedictions for serving Lord Krishna. The gopis worship the demigods to achieve Krishna, and similarly Rukmini Devi on the day of her marriage engaged in such demigod worship, her only goal being Krishna. Even today, the preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement cultivate important people with all kindness and diplomacy so that such wealthy or influential people will engage their resources in the devotional service of Krishna to glorify Krishna all over the world. Similarly, offering all respects to the demigods so that they will give facility for the devotional service of Krishna is not against Bhakti Marga, although nowadays such demigod worship has deteriorated. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harinama Sankirtan, chanting the holy name of Krishna, as the only realistic process for this age. Nonetheless, a devotee of the Lord should not misinterpret Bhagavad Gita's injunctions against demigod worship as a license to offend the demigods who are bona fide Vaishnavas. It goes on for 2 pages more, anyway. Translation: a devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly towards other devotees or people in general is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialist devotee, and is considered to be on the lowest position. So this is a definition of the Kanishta, which means the lowest type of devotee. The Madhyama we consider to be practicing pure bhakti. So that's basically the stage that we start at according to Rupa Goswami. So this Kanishta is not at that stage. He worships the Lord in the temple or in his house or whatever, but he doesn't go beyond that. So here it says he has faith. With faith he worships the deity, but he doesn't worship others or the devotees. So if he has no respect for the devotees, then his possibility of getting proper knowledge is also very, very limited. So his understanding of his worship also is limited. And it's a borderline case. He may end up committing offenses if he goes into impersonalism and then starts thinking that the ultimate goal of the worship is to give up the worship and merge in Brahman, etc. Then it becomes very offensive, in which case we don't consider him even Kanishta anymore. So on the other hand, this devotee also has the possibility of advancing if he gets the mercy of Madhyamas or Uttamas. Then he can get knowledge and a correct understanding and do the worship properly. So this is not a condemnation of worshiping the Lord, because we see that even the Madhyam Adhikari has worship of the Lord. He has prema for the Lord. He has bhakti for the Lord. So he's worshiping in some form or other, either through deity worship or chanting or hearing or whatever. So worship of the Lord in itself, there's nothing wrong with that. But the limitation here is that the person does not have proper knowledge. And he doesn't have proper knowledge because he doesn't associate with devotees. So therefore, he's on a lower level. Why do we need that knowledge? So we need knowledge actually to do anything effectively. We can do some actions, of course, and learn how to do an action. But if we have more thorough knowledge of this, the purpose of the action, the goal, what we're trying to achieve, then we can do the action much better. So the more we know about the activity we're doing, then the more perfectly we can do it. If we don't have the knowledge, then of course we can do the activity and there's some benefit, definitely, but we don't get the highest benefit. So this goes not only for worshiping the deity, it also goes for chanting the name. So anybody can chant the name. In fact, chanting the name is even more liberal than the deity worship. So to worship the deity properly, at least you need diksha to get mantras, and you have to follow the proper procedures. But you may not have shiksha. So then that's a problem. So the same with chanting Hare Krishna. You don't even need diksha, and everybody can chant. But if they don't have knowledge, it's called namabhas. So this we can say is bhakti abhas also. Another term used here is their Vaishnava praya. They're almost Vaishnavas. The real Vaishnava is the Madhyama and then the Uttama. And this is a preliminary stage. They've got some good qualities, but they're not at the proper stage. So another way of saying it is namabhas. So hopefully the namabhas also has no aparad in it, and they're chanting, and they have some affection for Vishnu or Krishna, etc. But it's still a little vague about who is Krishna and who are devatas, etc. What is the purpose of chanting? Not quite clear. But they have some faith, and therefore they do it. If they had no faith at all, they wouldn't even worship Vishnu or Krishna. So they have some faith and they do it. But understanding is not very clear. And therefore the effect also is not clear. So it is said by namabhas, you can purify yourself, you can destroy your karmas. Slowly you can elevate yourself and get up to mukti, liberation. You can actually destroy all your karmas and your hankar and everything through namabhas. So we can say the same thing about this Kanishtha Adhikari. He could get that far also if he has no offense. So some people say, oh, very good, we get liberation. But we know that devotees don't want liberation, they want prema. So that's not the goal for the devotee. So this is the problem with a person, either namabhas or this Kanishtha Adhikari. They don't get prema. They can certainly get some purification. And even that is superior to the purification of other processes. It's much quicker, but they do not get prema. So they have to come to a higher level of madhyama. And then they can progress and they can get to the uttama stage and prema. Therefore, there's nothing wrong with worshiping the Lord. Certainly it is there. And it is the characteristic not only of the Kanishtha, but also of the madhyama and the uttama. But the vision of who the Lord is and who the devotee is changes when we get to the madhyama and when we get to the uttama. There's three changes taking place. Therefore, the good aspect is worship of the Lord with faith. The bad aspect is he doesn't associate with devotees. He has no faith in devotees. So therefore, ignorance is there. So therefore he's called prakrita, an ordinary devotee or materialistic devotee. Now, if the misconceptions go beyond a certain point, then it becomes offense. And we can similarly be find in namabhas. We have two types of namabhas. We have pratibimba namabhas and we have chaya namabhas. So chaya namabhas is passable. It's done out of ignorance. Huh? But pratibimba namabhas has deliberate misconceptions. So one may have deliberate intention of merging into God as a result of chanting Hare Krishna or whatever. That is, the influence of Mayavadi philosophy is there. Why is it offensive? Because we believe that the form of the Lord, the name, is material, and it's only a step to go higher and merge in Brahman. So that becomes offensive to the Lord. So that is another type of namabhas, and then it becomes aparad also. So the pratibimba namabhas actually is no longer namabhas, it becomes aparad. But it may look like bhakti, it may look like chanting the holy name. So Mayavadis also chant, they do kirtan, whatever, they worship the deities, whatever, but misconception completely wrong. So they make you think, oh, they're also prakrita bhaktas, they're also Kanisthas, but actually they're not even in that category because it's aparad. Huh? So there is a little difference. The appearance may be one thing, worshiping the Lord, and simultaneously aparad. So it may go to the extent that people, we may think they're Vaishnavas because they may wear tilak. They may have taken diksha with Vishnu mantras or Ram mantras or Krishna mantras or whatever, and they're worshiping their deity daily, etc. Whether they have these misconceptions that the deity is a temporary phenomenon, we give it up and we merge in Brahman, then actually they're not Vaishnavas at all. They're not even Vaishnav Praya. They're not even at that stage because they cannot really advance because they're offending. On the other hand, we have a person like this. He has actual faith and he's worshiping, but he's got some unintentional or misconception due to ignorance. So this person can advance by taking association devotees, getting some knowledge, and then changing. So this is his good aspect, that he can advance beyond this. And similarly with namabhas, a person goes beyond namabhas by association with devotees, getting good knowledge, and then he can advance. So what is the ignorance that these devotees have? So one very important is position of the Lord. They don't quite understand the Lord in relation to devatas and the Lord in relation to jiva. There's no real clear distinction there. At the same time, they're not so offensive. They're worshiping the Lord and he's something supreme like that, so they worship. Another misconception is the position of the jiva. They may not quite be sure what happens when we progress. And if it becomes extreme, then they may think that the jiva becomes supreme also. Then it becomes offensive. So there has to be very clear a definition of us, the jivas, who we are and what we become later on. There must also be a clear definition of bhakti. So in nectar devotion, we have that very clear type of bhakti that leads to prema. That is anya abhilashita shunya, free of all desires except the desire to please the Lord. So the person who doing this, he may have desires for material benefits, etc., in his worship, or punya, etc. So it's not pure bhakti, in other words. It's mixed. So that is another type of ignorance that has to be removed. And of course, he has to be aware of aparads and avoid aparads. So if he gets that knowledge through a devotee, then he can advance to the madhyama stage. And from there, he can advance to prema. And if he doesn't, then possibility he can go the other way and become offensive, or he can just stay at this position and gradually get purified and end up with mukti, liberation. So, therefore, this is not it's good because it is a beginning, faith in the Lord, but it has to lead to, and we see shraddha, is followed by sadhu sangha, and then that leads to bhajana kriya. That's where madhyama bhakta comes in. So we have faith, and that is mentioned here. Shradaya ihate. He worships with faith, so he has faith. That's his qualification. But then he has to have association. This one does not have association, therefore he's put in a lower category. When he gets that association with the devotees who practice pure bhakti, then he gets to the madhyama level. And if he gets there, then he can advance further up to prema. If he doesn't do that, then he stays away from prema, and ultimately he can get liberation or something like that. So this is the difference. Of course, we can say not only merging, he could even get salokya perhaps, or sarupya. These types of liberation also he could get if he's very fortunate, but he cannot really get prema. So therefore, we distinguish this kanishta from the madhyama for that reason. In the purport, there's a mention about the devatas. And, we have to understand the position of the devatas in relation to the Lord, and that they're not supreme, that they are also servants of the Lord. And we also have to understand the position of the other jivas in the material world. They're also servants of the Lord. And therefore, we don't disrespect. We don't disrespect any jiva, or we don't disrespect the devatas, who are also devotees of the Lord. So this is the information that is needed in order to come to the madhyama level. Also, we have to understand the position of devatas and jivas. We understand their position in relation to the Lord. We also don't offend them in any way. And that with that type of knowledge, then the devotee can advance nicely. If he doesn't, then he stays in this position as prakrita bhakta or Vaishnava praya.
Maharaj, in the purport, it is mentioned that we should meditate that the world is the body of Krishna. Wouldn't that be impersonal, meditating that the world is the body of Krishna? And as you were saying that we should seek Krishna's presence. I mean, Uttamadhikari sees Krishna's form.
Well, this is, of course, the Lord is everywhere, so in that sense we can see the Lord in everything. Now, the person in prema doesn't have to think about it, because he's got prema, so everything is like expansion of prema of the Lord. The madhyama, he appreciates that the Lord is all-powerful, he's all-pervading, he hasn't realized it, so therefore he gives respect to everything in this world as the energy of the Lord, pervaded by the Lord, etc. To that extent, he says, he can do that. So it's something like the universal form. There's nothing wrong with the universal form as long as we realize that it is a material form and it's matter. So here it is actually, ether and air and water, etc. And they're energies of the Lord, and the Lord is also within them is the Paramatma, etc. So we respect it all as energy of the Lord. To that extent, we see the Lord there. At the same time, we don't think that the universal form is an absolute form. But we appreciate that the universal form is mentioned actually 6 times in the first canto and second canto of Bhagavatam. And it's for the less advanced yogis who have difficulty thinking that this Brahman has a form or whatever like that. So they give them a material form with the whole universe to think of, and then from that they can get to the personal form of Paramatma in the heart later on.
And Maharaj, we know that one namabhas is sufficient to give liberation, which would mean that all his desires are gone away. And also we understand that anartha nivritti, it's a long stage. So how do we understand that one namabhas is sufficient to do cheto darpana marjanam, but for us it is taking that long?
Oh, well, namabhas can lead, as in the case of karmas. He got Ajamil had of his karmas, so therefore Yamaraj couldn't touch him. But of course, karma is not everything. Then we have vasanas, and we have ahankara, etc., which were not destroyed. Those things are there. Additionally, Ajamil had no offense. So therefore, there was that quick effect. Now, if he had done some offense either in that lifetime or previous lifetime, then the effect would have been much slower. Okay? So, but he did it accidentally, and he got quite a strong effect. So devotees intentionally do devotion, trying to follow Anya Abhilasha Shunya. Definitely the effect is stronger in terms of destruction of karmas, destruction of asanas, destruction of ahankar, etc. If also there's no aparadhs. If there is aparadhs, then again it becomes slower. But still, the effect is better because ultimately you can get prema. Whereas with namabhas, you cannot get prema. Ultimately, you can get mukti or salokya or something like that.
And Maharaj, sometimes we hear this definition that Shuddhanam is Nam that you take when all anarthas are gone away. And sometimes we hear that Shuddhanam is the Nam that you take when after you have got proper knowledge.
Well, it's both things. There's two aspects mentioned in Harinam Chantamani. One is ignorance, and the other is anarthas. So there's two things. Now, the ignorance we can destroy by knowledge. So that's one level. Of course, we can say it's kind of intellectual in one sense, but there's still we may not sunk down into the Atma. And the other is anarthas. So the anarthas may be more difficult to remove in an absolute sense, but at least superficially we can remove them because we no longer pray for material benefits. We no longer pray for siddhis or liberation, etc. Then we may have some feeling in the Atma, still tendency there, but at least we're not explicitly praying for those things. So in that sense, anartha is not there. And then we have things like anger and greed and lust and pratishta, longing for position, etc. So these are also considered to be anarthas, weakness of heart, hridaya, dorbalyam, whatever. So, but again, we cannot completely eradicate them, but at least we don't indulge in them in the process of bhakti. So we have some control of the senses, control of the mind to a certain degree. So these are under control, and the process of bhakti will get rid of them. On the other hand, some people may explicitly just not try to control their emotions at all. So that doesn't work. So the anarthas have to be under control also.
What is the question from the internet? This is regarding Madhyamadikari. Can we understand that most of the preachers in ISKCON are in Madhyamadikari? And all Madhyamadikari are those whose material desires are completely washed away?
The practicing pure bhakti means Madhyamadikari, so we hope that everyone's on that level of doing bhakti with no material desires or not praying for material benefits, etc. What was the other question, second part?
Can we understand that most of the preachers in ISKCON, can we consider them to be in Madhyamadikari?
Oh yeah, so I said, that was the other question.
The other one is, can we understand that material desires are completely washed away for Madhyamadikari?
Well, no, not completely, but to a large extent. So we have anartha nivritti, and it lasts from the beginning of our bhajana kriya all the way into bhava stage. So there's always some anartha there, but finally in bhava stage it gets removed completely. So all the way through there's going to be some anartha. It's much less and less, and we don't indulge in them also.
Can we understand Sukadev Maharaj and Prahlad, who are engaged in preaching, to be in Madhyamat stage?
Well, a person like Narada Muni is actually a Shaktivesh avatar of the Lord, so he's on the highest level. But Jiva Goswami gives an example of an Uttama who makes distinctions for preaching. So he looks like he's a Madhyama in some senses for preaching work. The same we can say with Prahlad or others.
Kanisthadikari, they don't know who is a devotee or non-devotee. They only treat the deities. That means they don't have offense. Only when you come to Madhyamadikari, they start doing offense. So Kanishta devotees will not offense and they can graduate to...
Well, they could, just like demons also can offend or whatever. They don't know devotees and they don't associate also, but could offend them also. So a Kanishta could offend if he sees devotees chanting the holy name. What are these devotees doing? They're useless. Why should they chant? They should only worship deity in the temple or in their house. So then he may criticize them. So then he could offense also out of ignorance.
But he's doing unknowingly, but he is not knowing them, the devotees.
Huh?
The Kanishta may not know he's a devotee.
Well, if he doesn't know, this may be accidental, so that can take place. So as I said, generally the Kanishta we're talking about does not commit offense. So therefore, that's his good position. If he starts committing offense, then that ruins his chances of advancing.
Is it right to think that Kanishta has a perfect understanding that Krishna is the absolute personality of God?
Well, it's vague. Usually, he's doing it because of I like that deity or something, or family was worshiping that deity, so I worship also, and so that's our tradition. So that's dharma, like that. That's why they do it. So it's not offensive, but it's not clear also that the position and there's not purpose also is not clear.
Maharaj, you said that Ajamil didn't have any offense, but he was not even within the four regulative principles.
Who?
Ajamil.
Yeah.
He was not even following the four regulative principles.
Well, offense is concerning bhakti and devotees.
So then he
Following
had,
regular principles is regular sinful activity, a little different. It's not concerning devotees and the Supreme Lord. He had no animosity to the Lord. He had no animosity towards the devotees or the process of bhakti. He may have done sinful activities, definitely. We did that. But he wasn't deliberately harassing devotees or attacking temples and doing things like that.
Maharaj, when we deal with devotees, we may be getting along with maximum number of devotees, but there may be few, maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 5, 10 whom we don't get along with for whatever reasons. So we don't get along with them because of our nature, because of their nature, whatever. But because of that is an offense getting generated. We're not nice to them or they're not nice to us.
Well, the offense will come if we deliberately criticize or impede their devotion or whatever. That's where the offense would come. If we have negative feelings toward them. If we just avoid them or whatever, that's not a problem.
When the soul comes to the level of gaining knowledge, that everything is Krishna, is energy, and you have to respect. But still, come to the level of another Vishwanathana, the ego plays a big part, which makes them difficult to come to that level. How do we practice or come to that level of humbleness?
Well, Lord Chaitanya says that's inherent in the process of bhakti itself. That from the very beginning of chanting or doing bhakti, we do have to have that attitude. If we don't, then the process of bhakti really doesn't work, because we're not thinking that we are the servant of Krishna anymore. So then how can we do bhakti at all and have devotion if we're thinking that we are superior to Krishna or we control the God or something like that? So it's inherent in the bhakti itself as a part of the cultivation. If it's not there, then the bhakti doesn't really work very well.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Somebody might be thinking that they're superior to Krishna, but when they're moving along with the devotees, the ego definitely plays a part. That's an activity to come to the level of Srinada business and being humble as a blade of glass. So that plays a big problem for the devotees to make a concept.
Yeah, so ultimately, though they may not thinking of it, because of the pride, that means that they really don't accept other authorities, including Krishna.
Is no association better than bad association?
Hmm?
Is no association better than bad association? Or?
Well, it depends on how bad it is, I suppose. It's unfortunate, but probably there's no such thing as no association at all. We've got to associate with somebody, unless we live on a mountain by ourselves or something. So generally, we do associate with somebody. So, but bad association is worse than neutral association, definitely, because that's materialistic association.
But these 3 levels were existing even in Satyuga. Because we know Satyuga was only dhyana. So this Kanishta, Madhyama and Uttama were existing in different yugas also, or like
Well,
the deity worship is in the Dwapara Yuga.
definitely everybody's more sattvic there, and let's say it's easier to practice meditation, but still we have people at different stages of bhakti also. We'll have people that have less knowledge, people that have more knowledge. Generally, of course, they have more knowledge, but still we'll find stages in every degree. Every age there'll be people at different levels.
So it differs from when a Kanishta chants Mahamantra, Madhyama and Uttama, there'll be always different feelings the way they chant.
Different effects
He may
also.
chant for deities. We always say we have to chant for deity's pleasure.
Yeah.
The Kanishta may say that I'm worshipping deity, let me chant only for the deity's pleasure.
Yeah, and of course, probably they have some punya in their mind and they're chanting some motive like that.
Maharaj, you told us long back that a devotee should engage with other devotees as per his cultivation of knowledge level. For example, if he is engaging with a devotee who is lower than his level, he has to have compassion with him. And the one who is having equal level of knowledge or spiritual level, he should have friendship with him. And the one which are like Uttama Adhikari, like senior devotees, you should have respect for them and you should learn values from them. So, if there is one Kanishtha Adhikari and obviously he needs association of advanced devotees or pure devotees to practice more good bhakti. So sometimes we see fall down among devotees in Madhyama Adhikari. So if a Kanishtha Adhikari is so strong in his negative thoughts or offenses and other things, how to deal with those Kanishtha Adhikaris being situated in Madhyama Adhikari?
Kanishta Adhikari has negative thoughts, so what's the question?
How to deal with such Kanishtha Adhikaris being situated oneself as a Madhyama Adhikari? Like if we are Madhyama Adhikari, then how to deal with Kanishtha Adhikari so that they can advance?
Well, if they have negative thoughts all the time, they probably cannot advance because they won't associate with devotees anymore if they have negative thoughts, isn't it? They won't listen to them, so they'll stay at a Kanishta level. So basically the Kanishta who can advance is one who is willing to accept the instructions of the Madhyama. Then he can advance.
But we are supposed to have compassion for them. So how to utilize that compassion and make them help?
Well, it's also like preaching to the faithless. If they're not going to listen, then what can we do? Maybe they're Kanishtas, or maybe not even Kanishtas. They may be, Pratibimba namabhasis or whatever. We don't know. Yeah?
We know that the world, outside world, it works more on imitation and not that cultivation of knowledge. Devotees inside the temple, they believe in cultivation of knowledge, but outside they are believing more in imitation. Now we know that Prabhupada said that once a devotee goes out of the temple, he has to engage with a lot of types of people, karmis and Mayavadis and every type. So how to deal with those people with having the intention not to fall down?
Well, he should not establish equal relationships of friendship, in which case then he can be greatly influenced by them. So he has to keep his distance to some degree. It doesn't mean he doesn't talk to them or whatever, but the intimacy is not so much. And that if it becomes intimate, then he gets influenced. If he's not intimate, then he doesn't get influenced.
Like we have to distribute books by going out of the temple.
Yeah, so there's no intimate relationship there, so it's not a problem.
Sometimes we show the way like we are having friendship, but we should not develop that consciousness.
Yeah. So if you go to his house all the time and start eating with him and joking with him all the time, then you get influenced.